Hey guys, are you a fan of Mega Man? Well, check out my book, Fight Mega Man for Everlasting Peace of Volume 1, which actually covers Mega Man 1 through 11 and Mega Man and Base. It has reviews, retrospectives, Robot Master lists, and a lot more. And if you purchase the physical version from Amazon, you get the Kindle version completely for free. It's one hell of a bargain, so don't miss out and click on the link below to buy your book. Take care, Mega friends. Hey guys, Ryan here, broadcasting all the way from the popcorn rocket in space for this session of awesome video game memories. And now, if you love Mega Man, you're gonna love Megaman X, which is Mega Man in the future! So the Megaman X series takes place 100 years after the original Mega Man series and builds on the foundation started off the original NES titles, and also introduces a more hardcore, serious, futuristic setting. So how does the Mega Man X series compare to the original? Well, let's find out here on Awesome Video Game Memories. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and today's game is Mega Man X! So a lot of our favorite Nintendo franchises like Mario, Zelda, Castlevania were all making their leaps to the Super Nintendo. But the one that took the biggest leap of all was Mega Man X! So I remember getting a call from my cousin, and he was like, "Dude Ryan, have you seen the new Mega Man on the Super Nintendo, Mega Man X? I mean, he looks like an arcade game." So I went to go to my local store and I saw, I think it was GamePro magazine, and I saw the previews for that thing. Never have I wanted a game that badly. That badly. Yeah, I still remember reading GamePro, Electronic Gaming Monthly, Nintendo Power, all the magazines, like when they still had that blue picture of X, which looked pretty hardcore. He kind of looked like X with a mask and shit. And then they were saying Mega Man X is part of the Robo Police. Man, the Robo Police. Before they became the Maverick Hunters, but I still like the Robo Police, like RoboCop, but like Robo Police. Mega Man X and RoboCop would have sounded so freaking cool. So the first time I actually played this game was at a friend's house. He borrowed it from another one of his friends because both of us were really poor kids at the time. And so I remember he let me play that first level on the freeway, and I was like, oh my god, there's all these cars coming, but then after that there's these enemies, and then I'm charging the Mega Bus and this giant freaking beam robot thing, and then the freeway crumbles down. I'm hopping on the walls, and then this guy who looks like Boba Fett's trying to kill me, and this awesome robot with a blonde hair saves me. What was I playing? This was Mega Man X! But one dumb thing that still goes on to this day was a lot of kids were calling it Mega Man 10 back in the day. They were like, hey Ryan, I played Mega Man 10, but I was like, no, it's Mega Man X because his name is X. No Ryan, you're stupid, it's Mega Man 10 because X is the Roman numeral for 10. But then a year later when Mega Man X2 came out, I was like, ha! In your face! So I remember when this game came out, all the magazines were giving it 90%, A+. I knew I had to have this game. I had to have this game, so I painfully saved up my allowance for so long. So probably in the spring of '94, I was finally able to buy this game for $55 at Costco, back when it was called Price Club. And it was worth every single penny. So I remember the first day I had this game, I played it so much that I ended up beating all the robots, but I didn't actually get all the heart tanks yet, or all the sub-tanks yet. So I got all the way to Sigma's castle, but it was already like 9 at night on a Sunday. And my parents were like, Ryan, you gotta go to bed. Like, no, I gotta play more Megaman X! Of course, during this time, I wasn't allowed to play video games Monday through Thursday, so I had to wait till Friday before I could play again. On Friday, I beat the first 2 levels of Sigma's Fortress, but then I was able to finally beat the game on the Saturday afterwards. And so it only took me a total of 3 days to beat the game from beginning to end. But I replayed the hell out of it, and there are so many things I could talk about this game that I love so much. I mean, just the amount of detail and polish that this game has for a first effort. I mean, remember when Mega Man 1 came out, I mean, it was a really good first effort. But when Mega Man X was out, like, they put everything on the table. I mean, Capcom put everything on the table for this game, and it shined really, really bright. So I remember going to Chill Penguin stage, getting the boots from Dr. Light in that capsule, and being able to dash everywhere. I mean, that really sped up the gameplay a lot. I mean, I barely, ever ran anywhere. I dashed everywhere I went. I mean, I would just dash everywhere. And if you want to talk about polish and detail, I mean, just look how polished and detailed these graphics look compared to the NES games. I mean, I remember being blown away by, riding that robot armor, Storm Eagle stage where you blow up that robot and the entire freaking window blows up. I mean, and then when you fight Storm Eagle, the whole top of the jet you're on blows up. I mean, I'm going to this Flame Mammoth stage and seeing the robots crushed by that crusher, and then especially in Launch Octopus stage where you kill the submarine and it crashes all the way to the ground to reveal a secret passageway. I mean, there's so much polish. Oh my goodness, so much things I could talk about in this game. Like, wow, you really gotta play it for yourself. Seeing those Mavericks too, and the Robot Masters. I mean, these guys aren't your typical guts man and cut man. Like, these are ferocious looking animals, hardcore shit, man. You look at Flame Mammoth, holy shit, how the hell is Megaman X gonna beat that guy? Well, he's pretty easy to beat in the game, but man, just looking at these Mavericks, man, these guys would rip me apart, man. Yeah, so the Mega Man games always had secrets in them, and this game was chock full of secrets. Like I said before, I mean, I remember when I got to Sigma's Fortress for the first time, I couldn't get all the items. I didn't know where all the hard tanks or the sub tanks were. I remember having a really hard time getting the hard tank in Boomer Kawunger stage, and I had to look a little bit for the hard tank in Spark Mandrill stage. But other than that, the rest of them took a little effort to find. I remember also. I had a bit of an instinct in Chill Penguin stage, one of the igloos might have a hard tank in it, so I'm just gonna look, and I found it! And so I remember not really having a lot of trouble with the boss battles in this game until I got to the first boss of Sigma's Fortress and the boss spider. That boss spider was pretty difficult to beat at first. I remember my friend called me up and saying, man, I just can't beat the spider in the first Sigma stage. I just don't know how to beat him. So I remember struggling trying to beat that thing. I mean, I must have used 3 energy tanks trying to beat that thing. But the rest of the bosses, even Sigma himself, wasn't really that difficult. Also, I remember probably a week after I beat this game, and I was constantly replaying it, trying to replay it in different ways that I can. And when I went to GamePro magazine during my spring break, they showed that Mega Man could have the fireball from Street Fighter. I was like, whoa, Mega Man could shoot the fireball? Yeah, you had to go to Armored Armadillo stage 5 times in a row and get the capsule up there. But I remember the first couple of times I had difficulty trying to get it. I remember not being able to get it even after going 6 times, but I realized you have to get the energy capsule. I think you might have to go there with full health, I'm not sure, but I remember when I got the fireball, I was so obsessed with using it. When I got hit once by an enemy, I refilled my energy right away. And I remember it was very difficult to hit the final form of Sigma with the fireball, but even if you do hit him, it doesn't really do that much damage. Yeah, so I remember, this was the first Mega Man game that I played, besides the second one, that I felt kind of sad. This game had a lot of tragedy in it. A lot of sadness. I remember kind of feeling a bit emotional when Zero died, and I didn't think he was going to come back, but I heard the fans demanded that he would be brought back for the sequel, and they did. I remember beating Sigma for the first time. X is standing on that cliff, and I didn't feel like super victorious. I mean, I did a little, but I felt kind of sad. Like when the text says, X, with the X-Buster on his hand, he doesn't know what the future holds, and why did he have to fight? Like, X is a character that has a lot of turmoil, and as you see as the series progresses, So I remember after beating the game for the first time, I actually turned it off after the credits were over, because I didn't know about that secret. If you wait a little while, then Sigma appears saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be back, bitch," indicating that there was going to be a Megaman X2. So probably my second or third time beating the game, I just decided maybe there's going to be something, and oh, holy shit, Sigma's back. And we're going to begin the whole process again where Sigma is always going to be the final villain up until X8. And yes, I have played the remake Maverick Hunter X on the PSP, which I will cover in a separate video. So the great thing about Megaman X is I always said the NES games were challenging, but not like super impossible, but challenging but not easy. But Megaman X is just right. It just has the perfect amount of difficulty for any gamer to get into. It's not too hard, it's not too easy. I mean, like, you should be able to breeze through this game if you play it enough. Yeah, so Megaman X for the Super Nintendo. I mean, I could talk about this game forever, but don't worry, I'm not going to waste all your time. I mean, like, this game from beginning to end is like a thrill ride. I mean, there's like so much care, so much polish, so much effort that was put into this game for the first outing on the Super Nintendo, and it shows. So, in my opinion, this is the closest example to a perfect game as you can get. Like, Megaman X for the Super Nintendo, like, barely has any flaws in it at all. If I had to name one, I think there's... I don't know. Yeah, so Megaman X on the Super Nintendo. You can get this on the PS2 Megaman X collection, but I highly recommend getting the Virtual Console version on the Wii U. Very recommended. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the game we're talking about today is Megaman X2! So after being blown away by the awesomeness that was Megaman X, I was hoping Megaman X2 was going to be like what Mega Man 2 was to Mega Man 1. Kind of. And so I remember this game got a fair share of magazine coverage, but not as much as Megaman X. I also remember when it came out in '95, I saw it in stores, but I heard they didn't really make a lot of copies of this game, which is why this game is really expensive. I mean, I remember in 2001 when I bought the cartridge, I paid $45, but now on eBay, it's gone up a lot. So I remember the magazines like Game Players, EGN, Nintendo Power, they were like, yeah, this game is like, in the 80s, it's like a B game or B plus game. I was like, how could that be? I mean, like, Capcom has nowhere to go but up. I mean, this game is going to be what Mega Man 2 was to Mega Man. So I remember in the summer of '95, I borrowed this game from a friend, and I remember being really blown away by the intro. At the intro stage, I remember the intro with the wireframe Mega Man X head, powered by the C4 chip, and then seeing Mega Man on his bike, and then his friend, the green biker dude, was killed. I was like, holy crap! And then going to the robot factory, which was really short, and fighting the gigantic Mechanaloid. Like, holy crap! This boss is really huge, but he's really easy to beat. And then playing the rest of the game, for some reason, I don't know why, it just kind of felt a bit underwhelming in comparison to Mega Man X1. I don't know why. I mean, I should be blown away by, Wheelgator's stage as this moving tank, and all the shiny crystals on the stage of the Crystal Snail, and Flame Stag, all the fire, blah blah blah. But for some reason, I don't know why this game felt underwhelming. I mean, Mega Man X1 had a lot of polish, but it apparently this game, it tried to have some. It really did, but it just didn't feel like it had the polish and the effort that Megaman X1 had for some reason. Yeah, like one thing about this game, like the level design, the Robot Master stages felt really short. I mean, it felt like, you start the stage and within less than 5 minutes you were already at the Robot Master gate. I mean, the intro level was really short. I remember the second X Hunter stage being really short. I would say probably the longest stage the stage I felt the longest was probably Morph Moths, but other than that, everything just felt really short in comparison to Megaman X. I don't know why. And also, the Mavericks in this game, they look a lot wimpier than the ones from the first game. I mean, yeah, like you have Wheelgator, who looks like a mean mofo, but like Wire Sponge, Bubble Crab, Crystal Snail, Flame Stag. Like, in all honesty, the Mavericks of the first game could totally kick the asses of the ones of the second game. But I do gotta admit, the X Hunters, Violent, Surges, and Agile were pretty cool though, and very challenging. And also, what kind of made this game feel a bit underwhelming was the music. It felt very light-hearted in comparison to a bit more of the hardcore punk rock of the first game. I mean, the game sounded light-hearted. It didn't feel like it was very serious. I mean, a couple of people might disagree though, but still. I mean, if you listen to the tunes for the first and second game, the first game definitely has better tunes. And also about this game, it didn't feel as challenging as Megaman X1. I mean, I felt X1 was a perfect difficulty, but X2 was definitely a little geared towards newer players. I mean, there were maybe a small amount of difficult parts, but not really. I mean, the game really felt easy from beginning to end, and the secrets weren't exactly as difficult to discover as Megaman X1, except that heart-taking Crystal Snail stage, which can blow me. And also, what surprised me about this game was the return of Zero. Like, in Megaman X1, we saw Zero die and disintegrate, and in Megaman X2, they're like, oh, well, Zero's parts are scattered everywhere, and the X Hunters have them. Like, how did Zero come back? That was, like, never really answered at all. I mean, I remember beating this game fairly easily. Maybe I beat it in probably 2 days, which was a lot faster than I beat the first Megaman X. And then when I was reading the magazines, and then the big secret of, hey, Megaman X can do the Shoryuken, and it was pretty easy to Shoryuken Sigma. And now about the ending. Sigma says, like, Zero is the last of the Doctor's creations, and at the time I thought he meant Dr. Kane. I thought Dr. Kane made Zero, but it's not until Megaman X4 when we realize a certain someone made Zero, which I'm not going to spoil right now, but in the Japanese version, he actually says Zero is the number of this Doctor. You all know who it is. Yeah, so to me, this game was a lot easier to beat than Megaman X1. I mean, I even did some challenges where I would beat the game with the least minimal amount of items as possible, which was actually pretty difficult, but I was able to persevere through it. I mean, it was kind of cool beating the game with no armor at all, then seeing Zero in the credits. So don't get me wrong, Megaman X2 is still a great game, and I still recommend it. But there's a lot of problems in it that prevent it from being a great game, like Megaman X1 was, and even Megaman 2. Like, it wasn't the Megaman 2 of the Megaman X series. It wasn't what Megaman 2 was compared to Megaman 1, and that's kind of disappointing. But regardless, Megaman X2 is still a very solid action game, and I still highly recommend getting it. And you can get this game on the Megaman X collection for the PlayStation 2 or the Wii U Virtual Console, which I highly recommend. And if you want the original cartridge, it's a bit expensive on eBay. You might just have better luck getting the Japanese version, Rockman X2, which is a lot cheaper, but all the text is in Japanese, obviously. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. And today's game is Megaman X3! So I said in my previous videos, Megaman X1 was a perfect game. Megaman X2 felt underwhelming. And I think Capcom felt the same way, because Megaman X3 It's like injecting the Megaman X series with steroids and making it extreme! So everything on Megaman X3 is literally on steroids. The graphics are on steroids. The music is on steroids. The level design is on steroids. I mean, especially the Mavericks are on steroids. Holy shit. I mean, I said in my previous videos that the Megaman X2 Mavericks look kind of wimpy compared to the Megaman X1 Mavericks. But the Mavericks in Megaman X3 can eat up the Megaman X2 Mavericks and the Megaman X1 ones, eat them, chew them up, and spit them out. They're just that hardcore. I mean, look at frickin' Tunnel Rhino, and Blizzard Buffalo, and motherfucking Blast Hornet, and Gravity Beetle. Like, holy shit, man. Like, Neon Tiger's gonna slash that shit out of you. Like, holy shit, these Mavericks are like extreme! I mean, even the box art with Dr. Doppler and Megan Rockman X, the Japanese version of Megaman X, charging up his X-Buster like the Kamehameha, like look how freaking extreme that is. This is Megaman X on steroids. Whew. So my first encounter with Megaman X3 was actually with Rockman X3 on the PlayStation in 1996 when I was on vacation in the Philippines. I went to a LAN center at this local mall, and they had a whole bunch of consoles I could play, and I could actually pay $10 to play a game for like an hour. So I looked through their collection of games, and I decided I wanted to play Rockman X3. So I remember playing it and seeing that really awesome anime intro. I mean, at the time I thought it was great animation, but nowadays it doesn't look so good. But I thought that was freaking cool. Yeah, so the LAN center in the Philippines was pretty loud, so I couldn't really hear the music of the PlayStation version of Rockman X3, and we all know that the music for Rockman X3 for the PlayStation is nowhere near as good as the Super Nintendo version. I mean, I remember getting past the intro stage, seeing all the cool anime sequences for the robots, and I could not beat any of them. Like the first two games I was able to beat Mavericks on kind of the first try, but I could not beat any of the Mavericks on the first try in this game in the 1 hour I had to play Rockman X3 in the Philippines. That's how much they upped the challenge in this game. Like, holy shit, this game is on steroids. So when I returned home to the States in late summer of '96, my video rental had Megaman X3 to play, so I was finally able to hear the music of this game. So I remember the really awesome intro with the military sounding music with the Doppler dun 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 dun. And then probably my favorite tune in the entire Megaman X series was the intro stage where X and Zero, they hop on that bug bomber, they slash it down, and then it blows up, and then they're fighting through the Maverick base with that really freaking awesome music, man. I mean, it was like literally like one of my dreams at the time. Like, I wanted to live that scene. I wanted to be Megaman X. I wanted to jump on top of the bug bomber and blast it away and land and fight and get captured by mech. And I was actually able to do that when I finally learned how to edit video in Battle Geek Plus Adventures. So let's begin what I remember about the challenge for this game. So Megaman X1 and 2 were fairly challenging, with X2 being a lot easier. But like I said before, X3 is the Megaman X game on steroids. And like, this game was very challenging, especially on the first try. I mean, I was finally able to beat Tunnel Rhino as my first Maverick, because this pattern was a little easier to understand, but man, I remember like really being overwhelmed by the challenge of this game. Especially Kaiser Sigma. Yeah, because like not only was the level design more difficult to get through, and the levels were a lot longer this time, maybe a little bit longer than Megaman X1 and 2, and these levels had mini bosses. And the mini bosses were ranged from very difficult to defeat and kind of difficult to defeat. But yeah, they weren't exactly pushovers in this game. And like I said before, the music in this game is like very hardcore, like very metal, like hardcore metal. I mean, Blast Hornet stage is like da 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 da, and and especially Vile stage like da 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 da, like the music in this game was like so freaking serious and hardcore. Like Tunnel Rhino stage was like super serious. Like Blizzard Buffalo stage was very hardcore, but a bit kind of sad in a way, but very like melodramatic. Although Neon Tiger's stage sounds very familiar, like a certain band. But yeah, like the music in this game like really gave you like a super hardcoreness. Like this is like super hardcore and like a bit of a sense of dread too. Like, you know, it wasn't like lighthearted like the first two games. Although I do admit, I really like Gravity Beetle stage. I mean, it sounds like something like an Air Force montage you want to salute. And just like the challenging level design, the secrets in this game are very difficult to get. I remember when I beat all the Robot Masters, I barely found all the items. Like, that's how well hidden they were. I mean, I even had the Nintendo Power issue, and I still couldn't find stuff. I mean, I had to get the helmet to discover where all the items were. And also to make things challenging, like you got these two robots, Bit and Bite. You know, Bit and Bite was this little robot that looked like a samurai, and this big red robot, you know, pointing his thumb at you. And man, these guys were pretty freaking hard. And yes, we all know that this is the first game that you technically got to play as Zero. And Zero was a bit clunky to use. I mean, I remember trying to use him every time I could, but you can only use him like 1/3 of any given stage, because by the time you hit one of like the mini boss gates, he's like, X is like, you know what, I'm gonna take over Zero. You know, just like take a chill pill. And I was kind of disappointed that the big secret in this game, there wasn't a Street Fighter move like the Hadouken or the Shoryuken. I was pretty sure the Hurricane Kick was gonna be the move, but instead we got, you know, the Golden Armor and Zero Saber, which were really cool. But, you know, the problem is, you know, I wanted to have, you know, Megaman X doing the Hurricane Kick on Sigma. That would have been really cool. Now let's talk about Kaiser Sigma. Like, holy crap, man. Kaiser Sigma was really freaking hard. I mean, the first form of Sigma was already more difficult than the first forms of Sigma in X1 and 2. But man, Kaiser Sigma, like, you had to hit him precisely on the head, and I kept missing every single time. So I remember this battle taking me a very long time to win. And actually what made it worse was when the Sigma virus came out, I actually fell down in the pit of fire. So I had to do all that shit over and over again. And you know, about the ending, when I first saw that Megaman X, in order to save mankind, has to kill Zero, I'm like, what? What the hell? Like, I didn't know at the time, but yeah, but why does he have to kill Zero? I mean, is there gonna be this really big revelation about him? Yeah, so even though Megaman X3 kind of fixed you know, the lack of challenge and lightheartedness of Megaman X2, did that make it exactly better? Kinda yes and no. Because I remember being really frustrated with this game. And also kind of the way the game is designed really requires you to do a lot of backtracking, which is really frustrating, especially when I want to play it from beginning to end. And you know, the whole hardcoreness of it just, I mean, it's a bit off-putting. I mean, it makes me really yearn for the balanced, you know, not so hardcore version of Megaman X1. But don't get me wrong, I mean, Megaman X3 is a very solid action game, and I still highly recommend it to this day. So yeah, you can get Megaman X3 on the Megaman X collection on the PlayStation 2, and especially I highly recommend getting it on the Wii U Virtual Console. Because, you know, if you want to get the original cartridge for this game, you're going to be spending quite a lot of money. You should probably just get the Super Famicom version, it's a lot cheaper. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and today's game is Megaman X4! Alright, so Megaman X4 is my personal favorite entry in the Megaman X series. Even though I think Megaman X1 is still the best of the games, but X4 is my personal favorite, and you will find out why. So I first played Megaman X4 actually as Rockman X4. My friend lent me the bootlegged version he got from China, but don't worry, I completely bought my legitimate copy a couple years later. So my friend kind of taught me how to do the CD swap trick on the original PlayStation, so I put in Rockman X4 in my PlayStation 1, And then when I turned it on, I heard the greatest thing ever. The Rockman X4 opening song, Unbeatable Love I Surely Have, by Yuki Nakama. And this is the song that made me obsessed, like otaku obsessed with Japanese music. So I started playing this game in the fall of 1998. I was a senior in high school, and this is the time when Dragon Ball Z was the #1 anime on Cartoon Network. And I was getting really obsessed with anime at the time, so I would put this game in and I would listen to the theme song over and over, and I would try to sing along with it to not so good results. Okay, I won't sing that anymore, sorry. So also, one of the reasons why I love Megaman X4, because I thought X3 was a bit too dark, way too extreme, on steroids, too hardcore, and Megaman X4 totally brought that down a lot. I mean, it went back to being lighthearted and fun, like Megaman X1. And also, because now this was the first Megaman X game on the PlayStation, it took advantage of the PlayStation's capabilities. And now we had way more vibrant stages, way more vibrant music. I mean, the music in this game was incredible. I mean, it was like I was playing an anime, just like Megaman 8. Yeah, so transitioning into the PlayStation era, we got enhanced storytelling, told through anime cutscenes, and also rather than having the Maverick Hunters versus the Mavericks, good versus evil. You got the main central characters of this game, the Repliforce, which is a robotic army wrongfully accused of turning against the humans, and you can see the tension between X and Colonel at the beginning of the game. So the motivation of the Repliforce was their fight for independence rather than being labeled as Mavericks. I mean, you felt their struggle. You felt the tension between X and the Robot Masters. Not all of them are Mavericks now. They're just trying to fight for their independence. You had Zero and Iris, and the conflict with them and Colonel. I mean, you kind of felt like it tugged on your heartstrings a bit. So I said the Mavericks and X3 could easily eat the Mavericks from X1 and 2 for lunch, but the Mavericks and X4 are definitely toned down a lot more than the ones in X3. I mean, I really liked Magma Dragoon and his Street Fighter moves, and I also like Split Mushroom because he was a bit of a cool, bouncy Maverick. And just like Megaman 8, Megaman X4 has anime cutscenes and they look fantastic. I mean, even way better than the animation from Rockman X3. And, well, I played Rockman X4 first, so I heard the Japanese voice acting, even though I didn't know what was going on, and the voice acting sounded great. But then I played the US version. The voice acting was a bit, X kind of sounded like Mickey Mouse. And then you had Zero's Oscar performance. What am I fighting for? What am I fighting for? Although I thought Colonel's voice was fun, I did like they added an accent to it. And General's voice, it's kind of funny when you fight him. He's like, I have no choice. And also Sigma sounded like, the standard villain. I mean, he sounded okay. Yeah, so Megaman X4, you can play as Zero the entire campaign, unlike Megaman X3 where you can barely use him 1/3 through any given stage. Yeah, Zero is really, really fun to use. I mean, it adds a layer of extra strategy you have to use to defeat the Mavericks. I mean, his sword techniques require you to be close up, so you can't just be like X, hop on the wall and fire from across the stage. I mean, you have to get up close and personal with the Mavericks and slash the hell out of them. Probably also the biggest thing I love about this game, besides the intro, was Dr. Wily. Now we have confirmation that Dr. Wily made Zero. I mean, in X3 they were X has to save the world by destroying Zero, and X2 was this is the last of the Doctor's creations. But the Japanese version of X2 saying he's the last of the Wily numbers, and they're so we get 100% confirmation that Dr. Wily is Zero's master. Holy crap! Yeah, that cutscene where Zero and Sigma fight, and you see the Wily symbol on Zero's head, and Sigma punches it out. You're holy shit, Dr. Wily has so much more involvement in the X series than we know. Yeah, so I remember the challenge of this game of definitely being a bit easier than X3, but a little harder than Megaman X1 and 2. I mean, you had some kind of mandatory parts where Jet Stingray stage where you're on the cycle and where you can easily crash, which kind of sucked in my opinion. So they definitely upped the challenge by reducing your sub-tanks down to 2, but you get 1 weapon tank, which is pretty cool. And I remember the final fight with Sigma being pretty difficult, almost on the same level of X3, but not quite. I remember having a bit of trouble with X and Zero, especially on the second form of Sigma where you had the 3 heads and you had the big head Sigma, blasting away. But after a lot of persistence, I was able to prevail. But on repeat playthroughs of this game, I put the cheat code for the ultimate armor for X and Zero, so I did it that way. Yeah, so the endings for both of the characters of this game, like the Super Nintendo versions, are a bit sad, but not quite as uplifting. We don't exactly get that message saying, hey, will they realize Dr. Light's dream, or will X have to continue fighting? I mean, X is like, if I ever become a Maverick, will you destroy me, Zero? And Zero's like, is this what I'm destined to become? I mean, the ending isn't exactly as uplifting as the Super Nintendo versions. So Megaman X4 is my personal favorite entry in the X series. Although I don't think it's the best of the X games, I mean, X1 is still, I think, is the best X game, but Megaman X4 is my personal favorite. Because you had the awesome anime intro, especially the Japanese version. You got the great anime cutscenes that look great. Great music, very, very vibrant graphics. Very, very good storyline with a lot of tragedy, drama, plot twists that you can now tell on the PlayStation as opposed to the Super Nintendo. I mean, overall, it's a very, very solid game, and I totally recommend it, obviously. Yeah, so you can get Megaman X4 on the PlayStation Store to play on your PS3 for a pretty decent price, and both of these are not very expensive to get, so you can definitely get these on eBay. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the game we're going to talk about today is Megaman X5. Yeah, so Megaman X5 is what I feel is kind of the beginning of the end for the Megaman X series, although technically it was kind of true. Well, a lot of you know this already, but Keiji Inafune wanted to end the series at Megaman X5, but Capcom kind of went behind his back and made Megaman X6, because Keiji Inafune wanted to already move on to the Megaman Zero series, although Megaman X6's ending does lead into that. So I remember in November of 2000, I had the money to import it, but I was like, it's gonna come out in February, so I don't even know if I want to. So I waited until February and I got the game, and I remember putting in the game and seeing that awesome intro with the music being remixes from some of the past Megaman X games and seeing that awesome art. Although I do admit the Japanese version isn't as good, which is a disappointment because I really love the Japanese version of Rockman X4. And you can kind of tell Capcom wanted to save a bit of money with this game, so we don't have the anime cutscenes anymore, so we just have standard cutscenes like most games. And also, I feel that the music is no longer, the bright and boisterous anime style of Megaman X4, it just seems kind of standard, more subdued in a way. And also what's great about this game is you can choose between X and Zero between any level now. You don't have to play the game as just one character, which actually makes it a lot easier to see different endings if you wanted to beat it with X and then beat it with Zero, and you don't have to repeat the entire game. And actually what's pretty cool about the training level in this game, you actually get to fight Magma Dragoon from the 4th game, which is actually a pretty cool nostalgic nod. And now we get to see more of the Maverick Hunters like Cygnus, Aelia, Douglas, and Lifesaver, although a couple of these characters don't even come back in the next 2 games or so. And the big thing about this game is you have a bit of a time limit before this colony falls onto Earth, because Sigma kind of reveals himself from the beginning, which is not really a surprise, and you actually start the game with the 4th armor from the previous game, although it's nerfed a bit. And I remember being like, oh my god, I have like 16 hours before this colony falls. Maybe it'll be 16 hours in real time. Nope, you go to level 1 hour, just drains. And actually one of the funny things is you can actually try to fire the cannon right at the beginning of the game, and you might actually be successful with it. Although most of the time you're gonna fail. And about the Mavericks in this game, they actually have 2 names, which I kind of find funny. Now, the manual has them as their normal Japanese names, but the game actually has them named kind of as parody as Guns N' Roses. It's not like Capcom hasn't ripped off music before, considering Rockman is rock, obviously. And I honestly didn't find the Mavericks of this game to be that intimidating, especially in comparison to X4s. Like, these guys seem like the cousins of the Megaman X2 Mavericks. Like, we have Izzy Glow, Spike Rose Red. I mean, even Crescent Grizzly doesn't seem that intimidating. Oh yeah, and we do have the Skyver, who's actually part of the Repliforce. And actually Squid Adler, he knows Launch Octopus, although he's referred to his Japanese name, Octopald, which I was confused with, but I was like, oh wait, that's the Japanese name of Launch Octopus. Yeah, the translators haven't really played a Mega Man X game before, have they? Actually, what's cool about this game is you can have Zero find Dr. Light's capsules, and Dr. Light's actually like, well, even though you're Dr. Wily's creation, although I'm not really saying that, I'm gonna help you out anyways, just give this to X. And then we're introduced to this really pointless character, Dynamo, who's just kind of there to disrupt you. He's not there to kill you, he's not there to fuck shit up, but he does kind of fuck some shit up at the beginning, but he's just kind of there to disrupt you. And this character doesn't really get seen after X6, so he's a bit of a throwaway. Now let's talk about the fortress. What's actually kind of funny about this game is you can actually go to the fortress early if you try to shoot the laser and actually succeed or fail, but you get to access the fortress anyways, but you're gonna enter the fortress kind of nerfed if you kind of go too early. And actually what's cool about the fortress is you actually get to fight the Yellow Devil with the Dr. Wily symbol in the back, and then they're hinting so much at Wily in this game. I'm like, are we gonna see Dr. Wily? Are we gonna see Dr. Wily? And then the biggest thing about this game that everybody was expecting was the fight with X and Zero, which actually had really awesome music, and depending on what happened when you actually beat all 8 of the Mavericks, like Zero either gets infected and he's like, X, it's my duty to destroy you, or X, hey X, calm down, I'm not gonna turn into a Maverick or anything, oh shit, you're gonna attack me. Well, the good thing is Zero isn't that difficult. He's definitely not as difficult as it was in Megaman X2 if you didn't get all the Zero parts. And now the fight with Sigma, I actually found this fight a lot easier than the one in X4, but Sigma is hinting like, I have a new partner, and he hates you as much as I do, X. Or Zero, this guy is probably your own father. Zero, I, Dr. Wily, I'm your father. But of course you beat Sigma, and you actually don't get to see Dr. Wily. Like, I was expecting Dr. Wily to appear kind of like a hologram like Dr. Light, but you just get hints at Dr. Wily, and that's it. Although, yeah, we know Dr. Wily is involved with building Sigma's new body and spreading the Maverick virus, but where is he? This was the biggest thing I wanted to see in the X series. And of course, Zero dies, and I actually was expecting, no, he's not dead. He's just gonna come back to life like he did in X1 and 2. And then Mega Man carries Zero's sword in his memory. But then Zero comes back in X6, which I'll cover in the next video for sure. So yeah, Mega Man X5. So was this really meant to be the end of the X series? It definitely has some sense of finality to it, kind of as a tribute to Zero at the end. But to me it feels like, it tries to be something bigger, like, you know, the whole space colony trying to fall down to Earth, and then it just kind of falls flat in its face, because I feel like, you know, the music is underwhelming, the plot is underwhelming, the stages are underwhelming. It kind of feels like the PlayStation version of Megaman X2. Like, the game had like a lot of great ideas. It had, you know, more characters, which they didn't really do a lot with. I mean, Ilya does get really annoying that you can't skip her. Thank God they fixed that in the next game. But, you know, Cygnus, Lifesaver, and Douglas, they don't really do anything. They're just kind of there. Yeah, the whole Sigma and Dr. Wily thing is something they really could have done a lot more with. They could have had like Dr. Wily reveal himself to be the one pulling all the strings and talking to X and Zero like, you are Dr. Light's greatest creation, but I shall destroy you, you asshole. No, actually, it would have been really cool to see a hologram version of Dr. Light come out, talking to the hologram version of Dr. Wily. Dr. Wily, I can't believe after 100 years we're still fighting. So, Dr. Light, I shall destroy you with my ultimate creation and Sigma. But in all honesty, Mega Man X5 probably should have been the last game, because I really feel X6, 7, and 8 are a really dip down in quality, and kind of like beating the dead horse where X5 should have really been the last one. Yeah, so Mega Man X5, you can actually get this game for pretty cheap on PSN, although I would wait for a flash sale where you can get it for like $1 like I did. Yeah, so that wraps up Mega Man X5 for the PlayStation. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the game we're going to talk about today is Megaman X6. So I remember being caught off guard that Megaman X6 was coming out. I was like, I just got X5 a couple of months ago, now there's gonna be an X6? Like what? I thought 5 was gonna be the last one. Though I confess, I actually downloaded the Japanese ISO of this game, Rockman 6 off IRC. I burned it, I played it on my modded PlayStation, and then I beat the game, and then a week later, the US version came out. That's how fast it came out. I remember watching the Japanese intro, and then I put in the US one. It was the same Japanese intro, but this time with subtitles. I was like, what? What? You know, I guess having the Japanese songs in this game is the reason why this game hasn't come out on PSN yet, probably the licensing rights. So yeah, I found it kind of weird that they went with the scenario that yes, Zero dies, but then the colony did fall down and, you know, destroyed the Earth, so you're kind of running through the ruins of the Earth right now. I was like, wow, holy shit, the whole world got pretty fucked up. And then you actually had the Falcon armor from the previous game, which is also nerfed. And then you fight the invincible boss Hymax. I was like, holy shit, I can't even harm this guy. What the hell? I think I'm supposed to lose to him or something. And I think the Mavericks of this game were a little more intimidating than X5's, but not that much more. I actually like Ground Scarovich, actually, when you fight him, and the sound he makes, Yaisha, 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 Yaisha. For some reason, the music in Infinity Minion stage, it sounds so epic. Oh yeah, that robot in the background is kind of annoying. And then we have Metal Shark Player, who actually has one of the most annoying stages in the series. The thing about this game that everybody hates, and I have to agree with them, is the level design. The level design is off the walls, just frustrating. Like Metal Shark Player stage, where you get crushed by the ceiling, and what's even more annoying about this game is they added all of these irritating parts where you have to rescue Reploids, and so many of them are like out of reach, and if you fail to get them, they get taken over, and you have to kill them, and you can't get items. I mean, what the hell, man? And I also do have to admit, I like the sword armor, but the ninja armor, while it looks cool, is actually pretty useless. And because of the frustrating level design in this game, you can actually get stuck and have to start over. You can tell this game was really, really rushed and didn't go through a lot of quality assurance. Oh hey, Dynamo's back, the guy we didn't give a crap about. Whatever. And yes, you can get Zero back like really, really fast. You're like, oh yeah, he definitely wasn't dead at all. Who the fuck repaired him? And all of us were thinking Isaac was gonna be Dr. Wily. I mean, it's pretty hinted, and then when you find his body, he's like, Zero rules! Come on, just make him Dr. Wily already. And actually what is cool about the Fortress is you do get a Megaman X2 remix. And I remember the fight with Gate was actually pretty hard. I remember falling down in the pit so many times, and oh my god. I think the battle with Sigma represents how insane the developers were making this game. Like, just look at what Sigma says. X, the battle had just begun. I'm Zombie Sigma. Just die, X! And if your sanity already wasn't lost playing this game, I think Sigma represents what every player is going through playing this game. And so when you finish the game, you're holding Gate's dead body, and Alia's like, aw, poor Gate. We used to be colleagues. And if you beat it with Zero, Zero gets sealed away, leading right into the Mega Man Zero series, which is what the previous game should have done. So Megaman XX. Why did they make this? Even though I am glad they made it because we got more Mega Man to play, and we have now 2 trilogies in the Megaman X series, although we have up to X8. But why? I mean, I know Inafune didn't want to do the Megaman X series anymore, but it really, really shows that the team that took over had no idea what the hell they were doing. They tried to add in stuff like rescuing Reploids, hey, Zero's alive again, and we have underwhelming Mavericks like the previous game. So unfortunately, you can't really get Megaman X6 on PSN or anything like that, because I assume the music rights with the opening and ending themes need to be cleared, so we're gonna have to wait a while. Yeah, so Megaman X6 is definitely one of the weakest games in the Megaman X series, and it definitely shows it's definitely not as great as Megaman 6 from the original series. But, you know, I do recommend playing it out of curiosity, since we have 8 X games, so yeah, give it a try, but don't expect great things to come out of it. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan. Oh boy, and the game we're going to talk about today is Megaman X7. Oh boy. But I do admit, back in 2003, I actually was pretty excited for this game to come out because it was the first Megaman X game on the PlayStation 2. And it was pretty cool that Capcom was going to use a more cel-shaded look for the characters. And since this was 2003, before YouTube, I do remember downloading the Rockman X7 intro with the song Code Crush by Rina Ayuchi, and really liking it, and I found it almost as cool as the Rockman X4 opening. Although, sadly, I can't play it here because of Content ID. So of course I bought the American version, and oh boy. What was I in for? So right off the bat, we get a new character, because after 6 Mega Man X games, Capcom decided, hey, we need to add in a new character rather than fleshing out Zero and Dr. Wily's relationship. You know, not giving the fans what they want. But hey, let's just throw in a new character. Let's throw in the Mega Man X version of Poochie, named Axel, who I didn't really think was a bad character, but I didn't really use him a lot. I was mostly an X and Zero fan. Yeah, now the gameplay. It kind of switches between 3D and 2D, or 2.5D, and a lot of the times it misses way more than it hits. Believe me, like, at least they have a bit of a lock on, but you're gonna have trouble hitting enemies in this game, I guarantee it. Although I did find it pretty cool that the first stage was a bit of a homage to the first Mega Man X level where you're on the highway, but this time you're playing as Zero, because X was like, you know what, I just don't want to fight anymore, guys, but hey, if you rescue 60 Reploids, I'll join you. And yeah, they brought back the rescue Reploid thing, which I really don't like, and I didn't even bother getting them all. I just got enough to get X, and I was like, screw it. And I do admit, I'm more of an X player than a Zero player because, you know, it's Mega Man, and I like shooting from long range, but yeah, you have to start off with Axel or Zero, and, you know, Axel is okay. He at least has rapid fire, but it's still difficult to hit enemies without a charge shot in this game. And I remember the first robot I went after was Soldier Stone Kong. You know, because I got the game, I didn't really know the order. And I actually remember there was like a pig boss in this game, and there was a kangaroo boss called Vanishing Gunguru, although I do like his stage music. I remember the pig boss, I don't remember his name right off the bat, but I'll put it here. Yeah, the pig boss was one of the most annoying Mega Man X bosses ever. Swear to God, I hated fighting this thing. And if you thought that was bad, the fortress. Oh God, the fortress. I remember that first level where the car's chasing right after you, or the truck, I don't know what the hell it is, and it kills you and it runs you over, and that shit was hard, man. That shit was hard. Oh my God. Although Red wasn't too difficult to beat, and thank God, because most of this game was just... And then the final battle with Sigma, which I've only beaten with X. I didn't even bother beating it with anybody else. I just downloaded the endings way before YouTube. And I was like, wow, Sigma is pretty tough in this game. Because of the shitty play control and the shitty angles. I mean, Jesus Christ. Dude, I'm sorry, I just can't get into more detail, but yeah. What the hell, Capcom? Like, Mega Man X7 wasn't even a quantum leap from X6. Like, how could you take something as bad as X6 and make it even worse with Mega Man X7? Like, how could you even put the Mega Man name on this game? You know what, there should be t-shirts saying, I played Mega Man X7 and the only thing I got was a new character called Axel, who I really don't care about. Mega Man X7. Now, I think I said before that they didn't really need to do Mega Man X6 because Keiji Inafune wanted it to end at Mega Man X5. And thank God that Mega Man X7 was not the last game. This would have been a really crappy way to go out. And if you really want to play this game, it's not available on the PSN store, thank God. But You can get it on eBay, although it's kind of going up in price for the past couple of years, so don't expect it to be that cheap. And honestly, just skip this game. Just, Wikipedia it or watch it on YouTube. Just don't be like me and have to suffer through playing this game. Or watch the Angry Video Game Nerd review of it. Yeah, just watch that. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the game we're going to talk about today is Megaman X8. So yeah, Megaman X8. This is kind of the end of an era. Well, at least at the time of this recording, this is the last main series Mega Man X game, even though we did get a Mega Man 9 and 10 a couple of years later. So after the disaster that was Mega Man X7, I was definitely very, very skeptical about Mega Man X8 because I was hoping that they would not go into that pseudo 2.52 3D whatever thing where you can't even hit most of the enemies, but thank God they brought it back to 2D, although it's more of 2.5D. And also in 2004, this is the year that both Mega Man X8 and Mega Man X Command Mission came out. And I got Command Mission first, and I remember playing the demo of Mega Man X8 in Noah's Park. I see what they did there. Yeah, and I was actually surprised they changed the art style quite a bit in this game. Like, X's legs are thinner, his X-Buster is a lot thinner, Zero and Axel are a lot thinner, and then the navigators like Alia are a lot thinner. And then we have two new navigators called Layer and Palette, and one of them tries to strike a romantic conversation with Zero, or has a crush on him. Well, I think he's still loyal to Iris. So I remember in 2004, I had to download the trailer for this because this was a year before YouTube, and I remember seeing Lumine, who ends up being the main antagonist of this game, saying, "Thanks for getting rid of Sigma. He's gone for good this time." And I didn't know whether to believe that or not, but because we haven't had a main Series X game for over a decade, maybe he's kind of right in a way, especially in the Mega Man Zero series where Sigma is nowhere to be seen. So the good news is the gameplay is now back to standard left and right 2D, although it's more of 2.5D because the graphics do move along with you. Like here in Babu Pandemonium stage. Yeah, he has the coolest Maverick name. Babu Pandemonium. And actually what is cool, you get to choose between X, Axel, and Zero, although you can only use two of them at a time, and you can tag team, and you can actually unleash like super attacks, which is actually pretty cool and which saved my ass a lot of times in this game. And in this game there is a store where you have to collect medals, and there are a couple of places where you can kind of get unlimited medals. I remember I had Steel Battalion for the Xbox, and I would just put the Steel Battalion controller on top of my PlayStation 2 controller and have X or Axel just like shoot, kind of under a metal generator, which we would call it, and get unlimited medals after like an hour or so. Yeah, and I was actually surprised that Vile came back, although at the end of X3 he was like, "I will haunt you till the day you die." Hey, I'm back, because, hey, I'm Sigma's lapdog. The Mavericks in this game are kind of weird. There's a boss called Optic Sunflower. Let that sink in. You're fighting a sunflower boss. A flower. And his stage is actually pretty funky. Like, there's different ways to beat the stage, kind of like Cyber Peacocks in Megaman X4, and depending on how you do, you get to advance. And I actually do like the music in Optic Sunflower stage. Actually, what is really cool about this stage is, if you have a command mission save, you get to fight Cutman from the original Mega Man, and I confess, I actually lost to him the first time. I was like, "You get to fight Cutman, but I only have like 2 energy bars left." I'm Mega Man X, and I lost to Cutman. And thank God they got rid of that really annoying Rescue Reploid bullshit from Mega Man X6 and 7. Thanks for listening, Capcom. And so the whole plot of this game revolves around like copy robots and then some kind of stairway to the moon. I think it was called Project Jacob, which is headed by Lumine, who is actually the main antagonist, unlike Sigma this time. Although I do admit, out of all the armors in the X series, The so-called Icarus armor is one of the stupidest looking armors in the X series. I mean, even the armor from Megaman X7 looked a lot better than this. I mean, why? And actually, what is pretty crazy, because of the whole copy robot thing, you do actually have to fight bodies of Sigma. And Sigma's form in this game looks pretty crazy, even crazier than his Megaman X4 form. He's like sitting on the throne, Devil Sigma. Yeah, bitches. And I actually was surprised that Lumine was the final boss, and I definitely found Lumine to be hard at first, but on repeated playthroughs I found him a lot easier because you get to upgrade all your weapons and your stats, especially if you get unlimited medals. And of course, after you beat the game, or if you just insert a code, you can actually play as the navigators, Alia, Layer, and Palette, and I have beaten the game with all three of them. Surprisingly, I actually did find a lot of replayability in this game because I actually wanted to get all the items for every character by getting a whole bunch of medals. So I would have like Super Uber X, or Super Uber Axel, or Super Duper Samurai Zero. And the ending is left on a cliffhanger because Axel does get infected, and I remember a whole bunch of fans were like, I think Axel's going to become the next Sigma in Megaman X9, which sadly has not come out yet, ever. Yeah, so Megaman X8. What else can I say about this game other than, hey, it's a bit of an improvement over X7. It's still not that great of a game, but at least Capcom listened to the fans. They improved it. But sadly, we have not gotten a Megaman X game for a very long time, like over a decade after this game's come out. Like, I was imagining Megaman X9 would be like Megaman 8, but this time Megaman X9 would be in the Super Nintendo style where you get to control X, Axel, and Zero, but just 16-bit. Which would have really helped the game a lot. And sadly, since Keiji Inafune is no longer with Capcom, we're definitely not going to get any word about Megaman X9 anytime soon or ever. I mean, yeah. Hopefully Capcom still remembers that they own Mega Man. And surprisingly, if you want to get this game, it's not super expensive, but it does go for a hefty price on eBay, kind of close to the price it was when it was released back in 2004, so don't expect to pay a decent price for it. You're probably gonna have to buy it kind of for the same price that you bought it for originally in 2004. Yeah, so that wraps up this episode of Awesome Video Game Memories about Mega Man X8, which I kind of consider the end of an era, and hopefully Capcom will get their act together and make a good Mega Man X9. Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the game we're going to talk about today is Megaman Maverick Hunter X for the PSP. So I remember back in 2005, I purchased the PSP like a month after it came out, and then when I heard Megaman X was going to be remastered with anime scenes for the PSP, I was like, holy shit man, they're going to remake Megaman X! Like Megaman X4! So I remember I went to my local Game Crazy before it closed and put down $29.99 on it because that's what Capcom was selling it for at the time. And then I remember in 2006 when I went to go pick up the game, Capcom decided to bump up the price to $39.99. I was like, okay, fine, you get another $10, but still, that's a bit of a dickish move. So Megaman Maverick Hunter X is a retelling of the first Megaman X, but this time in a bit of a larger scope. Yeah, you get to see Megaman X and Zero actually interact with other Maverick Hunters, and you actually get to see Sigma as the Maverick Hunter leader. Although this is a retelling of the original Megaman X, Capcom actually puts in a couple of differences, so it's not quite the exact same experience. Like this time at the beginning of the game, you can actually fight Vile and win, although you don't really win and it still plays out like the SNES version. Although the layouts of the stages are very similar to the original game, they actually move around a lot of stuff. They move around a lot of Dr. Light's capsule locations. Actually, what is pretty cool, the Mavericks, when you fight them, actually have personalities. Like, some of the Mavericks are like, I'm gonna kill you, X, or Storm Eagle is like, I'm sorry, X. I have to do this. I'm under Sigma's control.
Storm Eagle, have you gone Maverick too?
I won't deny that.
And there's Launch Octopus, who's kind of an artist.
I am an artist, you see, X? An artist of underwater combat.
X, why did you ruin my beautiful painting? Although the stages that go through the biggest change are the Sigma stages. Like, the second stage actually has a lot of underground parts, while in the original it's mostly above ground. And actually what is really cool about this game is you get to save the fireball. Like, getting the fireball is pretty much almost the same like in the original, although you have to get through the entire stage 5 times without getting hit and collecting the energy capsule, although it gets pretty tough at first. But once you get the hang of it, you can get through Armored Armadillo stage without getting hit once. Although the thing I really don't like about this game is the X-Buster takes a lot of time to charge. Like, it feels like it takes longer than it does in the original. Like, you have to charge it up and wait for X to go, yeah! And then you can fire it, but it takes like 5 to 4 seconds. Like, it takes forever to charge this in the heat of battle. And actually what is pretty cool about this game, the anime sequences are actually animated by the same company that did the Megaman X4 animation. I'll put the name over here. And the voice acting is really good for the most part, although I do think X's voice actor really overacts in the battle with Sigma. He's like, Sigma! How dare you do this?
I will defeat you, Sigma!
Oh yeah, the voice acting is a lot better than Megaman X4 by far. And also, when you beat the game, you get the anime OVA Day of Sigma special, which actually shows an alternate death for Dr. Kane. Although Dr. Kane is clearly alive in X2 and 3. And also what is cool, when you beat the game, you actually unlock Vile mode, where you get to play the entire game as Vile, which is really, really awesome. And it does add a lot more challenge to the game, because Vile doesn't really get the Maverick weapons, he just gets his own types of weapons. And actually what is pretty cool, he beats the shit out of X and Zero. So Megaman Maverick Hunter X, it's definitely a very, very good remake of the original, although I still preferred the original a lot more. Although the anime scenes are really awesome, I do prefer the original because I felt the original was definitely a lot more emotional in a way. I think the music in the remake for Maverick Hunter X was a bit more subdued. Like, I felt more emotional when Zero died in Megaman X1 rather than how he died in Maverick Hunter X, and I do think the ending for the original was a lot more emotional than Maverick Hunter X. I mean, it's really cool that the ending is Dr. Light's message to the world, although I do prefer the ending with Megaman X standing on the cliff and feeling emotional after the battle was over. Although I do have to say the Day of Sigma anime OVA is definitely worth the admission price. So yeah, you can get this game on the PSP for very cheap on eBay, and it's also available digitally to play on the PS Vita, which I definitely recommend. Hey everybody, Ryan here, and thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, especially subscribe, and make sure to click on that notification bell so you know when we release new videos, because YouTube probably won't tell you. And if you want to watch me play games live, you can watch me on twitch.tv/BattleGeekPlus. And if you have a Twitch Prime account, you can subscribe for emotes and a lot more awesome perks to support the show. And if you want to support the show, you can donate at patreon.com/Ryan Molina, because every dollar helps me bring you a better show. And make sure to follow me on Twitter at @RyanMolina and at BattleGeekPlus. And also make sure to check out the official Battle Geek Plus website at BattleGeekPlus.com. We got books, we got t-shirts. Make sure to check out our awesome popcorn-related t-shirts, our Battle Geek Plus t-shirts, and a lot more. And last but not least, make sure to check out these other videos while you're here. Thank you very much, and see you later.